Hi guys, it's Isa and Thai, and today we're gonna talk about booktok and some of the most popular books there and trying to see if, in my opinion, are worth the hype
or not.
So a couple of months ago, I downloaded TikTok and I started to navigate through booktok. And I did this because I am a sucker of the acknowledgements of the books, and I started to see that in some of the most new releases, the authors were starting to say thank you to different booktokers or just to, having a space there. So I started to be fascinated about that topic and how booktok is actually really moving people to read and buy all the books, and it is having a massive impact on the writers and publishers. And so from the beginning I wanted to do a video for that, but I wanted to take a little bit of time to get to know a little bit booktok. This video will be a blend of what the algorithm has for me, which I understand it's feeding on my own taste, and also a little bit of research on what are, beyond my own booktok, the most popular books. And so please take this conversation as what it is: a friend talking to another and just sharing her opinions. I want this to be a safe space, same as when you were with a friend and you are discussing a book that they might have liked and you're like, nah, I hate it, or you're like, what do you mean? I loved it. So I really hope that you take this for what it is. This is just my opinion, but let me know down below what are your thoughts. Let's get straight to it. The first one is the Atlas 6, and this book has been everywhere for me. I think that it's starting to fall a little bit down, and I really liked this book. I think it was really engaging from the beginning, kind of like I started to read it and I wanted to keep reading and reading and reading. It's that type of book. We will have dark academia, we will have 6 different characters. All of them are kind of the most powerful mages, and they are starting to enter into this school where they will need to groom their abilities and take care of like this school, because outside there's kind of this evil magic coming around and they need to kind of compete a little bit between themselves. I think that it's a little bit overhyped. I liked it really much, but once I read it, I wasn't, with this feeling of, oh my god, I want to reread it,
Even though I won't have the time never in my life.
or I want to have the second book right away. So I think this falls into a yes, I liked it. I think it's good to get out of a reading slump, but I'm not sure if this is kind of like the best. Then we have The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and this, it's just yes, it deserves all the hype that it has. It deserves more. This is usually kind of presented in all of these different videos of your heart will be broken in a million pieces, you will never recover of these, if you want to cry for forever, please take this out. And this is actually kind of true. This tells the story of Achilles under the point of view of Patroclus, his companion since they were children. And so you see a grown-up story. This is obviously a Greek mythology kind of story, and we will see how they both grown up and how they need to face kind of their relationship, the place in the world, and especially Achilles' kind of love for his fate and his burning desire of getting into the Hall of Fame and being in the stars. Written beautifully. You see like the devotion of Patroclus, it's just so beautiful. It's honestly a beautiful read. Did it make me cry? It did. Am I a crier? I am. So, I mean, I don't know. Definitely, it's one of the best ones that I've read. Then we go to House in the Cerulean Sea by DJ Clune. Again, this is just a book that really deserves the hype for me. Pitched as a book that kind of will make you stupidly smile all of the time. It's kind of a goody feely book, and it is. It's just so sweet that really you want to live in that book for forever. Once it ends, you're like, that kind of feeling. So for me,
It deserves it.
in this story, we will be following a middle-aged man, kind of a workaholic, and he has this role of going into the different orphanages and make sure that the kids are well taken care of. One day he gets a notice for this super upper management to go into this house in beautiful Cerulean Sea to, you know, just check on 6 children. And what's his surprise, as it seems that these kids are the most dangerous magical kids out there. We will have the devil, we will have a gnome, we will have kind of a sprite, a kind of a dog werewolf, you know, like the story goes from there. And yes, that type of story, it's sweet, it's funny, you know, the characters, all of them are phenomenal. There are so many, and all of them have this, I don't know what. Changing gears a little bit, we have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And you know, like, it's impossible to get into BookTok and not seeing beautiful images of Poppy, of Hawk, of, you know, like daggers, stuff like that. I really liked this book. I think it's fair to say that maybe it's a little bit overhyped. It's mainly romance, and the fantasy element really kind of starts making an appearance more in the second and the third books. And if you go with that mindset, you will really enjoy it. I was reading this with my best friend and we were like, you know, I don't really want to work. I really want to keep reading. So you have that feeling. And I think that it's then like, okay, it deserves what it has, because I think that is kind of creating a new movement. But I think it's a little teeny bit overhyped. This story talks about Poppy, and it's kind of the maiden. So it's relevant in her society. She will play an important role for all of them.
Oh, alrighty.
You know, as a result of that, she has been veiled all of her life. She cannot be talked to, and she is being really isolated. She has a lot of questions. Beyond that, has really been trained as a warrior and has a lot of things to deal with her past and also with the kingdom in which she lives. It's really spicy. It really like takes you like, all right, like we're getting like there and we're getting like now and strong. So it has that feeling. Then we have The Cruel Prince, which I'm surprised because it's kind of a book that it's not really new. What I'm saying in BookTok are books that were kind of like hot in YouTube like a little bit before. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. It's a series that I think it deserved the hype. I enjoyed the reading. I think it's the first book that I've read in which the Fae weren't these magical, whimsical creatures, but instead they are kind of nuanced, they are grey, they are mean, and they are powerful. You know, the relationship that they have with humans is one of servitude, and we will follow our main girl, and she is human living in this Fae world. And the one and only benefit that humans have in this world is that they can lie and the Fae can't. And so, you know, she will need to find her way through this court. It's kind of political, it's kind of cunning, if you don't mind to have a little bit of a huge enemies to lovers, and like the main character is, you know, it's a bully, then you might be alright. I think it's alrighty-ish. Then we have A Court of Thorns and Roses, and especially A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the second book. Sarah J Maas has a way of being viral. I do think that this series is great. It's been a hot minute since I've read it. It has this way to get into your heart. There are so many other series coming up that can steal the place of this series, but still they haven't, and I think that's for a reason. The first book, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and we will be following our main girl Fairy as she accidentally kills a fae, and as a result she gets kind of kidnapped into this world. She will need to live within this court, figure out her place, and you know, like, things will unfold from there. The first book, I think it's alrighty-ish. The second book, for me, really made it. The third book, again, it was like, meh, alright. And the fourth, it was like, Then moving to another YA fantasy series, we have Shadow and Bone. Acknowledgedly has come up due to the Netflix series, and unfortunately for me, it didn't made it. I think this is overhyped. I loved Six of Crows. I think
That it's phenomenal, top tier.
But Shadow and Bone, for me, I thought it was okay. I mean, I love the world. It's a great set of characters, but the story for me was dragging. You know, like the first book I liked, but then the second and the third one, I really needed to push myself overhyped. In the rare scenario in which you don't know this story, we will be following Alina as she lives in this world where there's kind of this dark forest kind of vibe that it's expanding, right? Like, is this dark magic consuming the world, and she is the only one that can bear the magic of the light of the sun. And so from that point onwards, she will be, trained in this school. She will be needing to move through land, and her main goal is to stop this darkness. It has a blend of different tropes. It has a growing up, a chosen one, friends to lovers and enemies to lovers, and the mentor, the artifacts kind of trope. It has a lot. Then we have a course so dark and lonely, and oh my gosh, this was
Everywhere for me.
in booktok. And although the first book really made it for me, it was really interesting. Book 2 and 3 were a huge miss. And as a result, I do think that this series overall it's overhyped. The first one though, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling at its core, but it's way different than the classic stories. Because for starters, our main girl has cerebral palsy, and we will see how she will need to face the different situations regardless. And also the story, it goes kind of like backwards, because in this world it seems that there's kind of a limited window in which the curse can be broken. And for that, every summer one girl gets kidnapped and thrown into this castle where the beast tries to fall in love with her, make her fall in love with him, and break the curse. And so when our girl comes into this castle, he is not interested anymore. He has kind of like been there, done that. This does not work, and I'm hurting my people. So she's like, okay, what do we do now? And the story unfolds from there. So it's really interesting. Then we have Caraval. And again, Caraval was everywhere in my book talk. That beautiful art, because what Caraval has, it's mainly the world building, this whimsical story and world where you really want to live within. And I actually picked up Caraval as a result of that, of all of these, fantastic settings. And I really liked it. They were all around the 4.5-ish kind of stars, but I really wanted to get back into the next story to continue living on in this world with this magic. And now that I went through the whole series, I'm like, I still want to live in this world. I think it's fantastic. I think it's compelling, and I think it's so different. And as a result of that, I think it's rightfully hyped. I really encourage you to pick it up. And this will follow a story of two sisters as they get to Caraval. And Caraval is this kind of circus that happens every now and then, and when it happens, magic unfolds. It's led by this mysterious man called Legend, and all of his actors and players. And we will see how every game is different, and it seems that this year's Caraval will consist on actually figuring out what happens with one of the sisters, because upon arriving, one of them gets kidnapped, and it seems that we will only have like 5 days to figure out where the other sister is, follow the clues, get the answers, because otherwise the sister might die. There's a lot of
Pining.
and slow burns within these books, and again, the world building just so beautiful. And last but not least, we have Kingdom of the Wicked and Kingdom of the Curse. Lot of beautiful art again. And I think this series it's a little bit overhyped. It talks about witches, it talks about demons. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed those books. I actually made a video about them, so there you go. The thing is, there's no much world building, but the things that made it stand out for me were basically two. The first one, this is kind of a thriller, mystery plus fantasy, and I thought that blend was really interesting. And the second thing was the depiction of the male character and how these demons are actually kind of the princes of hell, and those are embodied based on the different sins. So we have wrath, we have envy, we have pride, all of that. So that was like, okay, I'm in. It's not a story that you won't have read before, you know. For me, it doesn't really stand out, but it's really entertaining. I think it's worth reading it. And we will be following our main girl as her twin has been murdered. And so she takes upon herself to discover who is this murder. You know, as a result, she starts investigating, therefore, this mysterious thriller kind of vibe. And one day she will call one of the 7 princes of hell. And it's like, whoops, this is like a terrible, terrible omen. We don't really know why, but we know that the different witches, the different covens have all of these legends, and if the princes come back, that means the end of them all. And so our main girl is like, well, whatever though, let's figure out who killed my sister. And I thought that was really entertaining. The dynamic between the two, it's super, super interesting. It's not like insta love or anything like that, or insta traction. That's not kind of the vibe.
It's okay-ish.
And that was it for today. I really hope you liked this video. Thank you so much for reaching this point. If you want to see more book recommendations and reviews, please click the subscription button, and let's see each other in another video. Bye bye!